Today, I'm recapping Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football, and we're going to be previewing NFL Week 4 on this edition of the Shumake Take. Let's get it. All right, and welcome in everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic, fantabulous, awesome, freaking day. Woo! My name is Garrett Shumake, and you are listening to the Shumake Take. This is Shumake Take episode 15. We're already 15 episodes into this thing, not including Shumake Take rants. If you haven't listened to those, I highly advise you check those out. But today, we're not talking about any rant. We're not talking about any of that stuff. We got to recap some football. We got to talk some football, some NFL football, as we talk about Sunday Night Football with the Chiefs and the Falcons, and then we recap the Monday Night doubleheader with the Bills and Jaguars and the Bengals and Commanders, which, spoiler alert, that was an incredible game, and Jaden Daniels is him. But we got to also preview NFL Week 4 as well, and for these predictions, I'm going to be a little bit more conservative, but I do have one bold take in there that I think is going to surprise some people. But before that, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. Something I'm recording a little bit later than I normally do. It's 9:37 right now. I usually record between like 8 and 8:30, so I'm a little bit about an hour behind the time I usually record. And that is because I actually took an Epsom salt bath. And I know that's kind of weird. That's kind of like personal. Why would you be saying that? But here's the thing. You know, after a long, hard day's work, you want to if you want a good way to relax and literally relax your muscles and get a better night's sleep, take an Epsom salt bath. Literally just take a cup of the stuff, throw it in some warm water, hot water, as much as you can stand, about 100 degrees, give or take, and literally just let it sit for a few minutes, let it dissolve, sit in there for about 15 to 30 minutes, up to an hour if you really want to, and just chill out. And literally, it just relaxes your muscles, my body right now feels relaxed. I mean, if it wasn't for that, I have currently this in front of me. I have a light right here. I got a light over the head that's providing the light for this entire video, my ceiling fan light. And I got a fan with my mini fridge over there off camera. But if it wasn't for all the lights, I mean, I could probably turn everything off and go to bed and I'd be out in 30 minutes. Like, that's entirely possible, and I believe that. But I highly recommend you try it. If you're someone who works manual labor, or you're someone who's just mentally stressed out a lot, go ahead and try it. Try it out and just sit in the water and just relax, and you'll feel so much better, because I definitely do. I promise that. But outside of Epsom salt baths, we got to talk about some football. We got to recap Sunday Night Football with the Kansas City Chiefs going to the Atlanta Falcons and beating them 22-17. And to me, this game was very gritty. It was very gritty, not gritty, like gritty, like, tough, hard fought. Like, these two teams were pretty evenly matched for the most part. Like, I thought the Chiefs would pull away a little bit, if I'm being entirely honest with you, and I thought that the disparity would show, but that was not the case. These two teams were going at it toe to toe, and here's the thing. This game really went down to the wire. It truly did. But getting first to the Chiefs, Mahomes, he played well. He didn't have the pick, which we'll get to in a little bit, but he played how you expect him to play. He made his magic. He did what you needed him to do, or he did what he needed to do. And the cool bright spot for this game was Chiefs running back Carson Steele. He's an undrafted free agent, and if you ask Kansas City Chiefs fans, he was a fan favorite throughout training camp. And and seeing him have 72 yards, I think he had a touchdown as well, if I'm not mistaken. And with Isaiah Pacheco out, it was a question of who was going to step up in his place, and it's been Carson Steele. And he's been fun to watch his first few weeks, and now seeing him in his first NFL start. And no, I think his first NFL start was last week, but no, was it? No, this is his first NFL start, and he impressed. He played really well. He played solid, and that's what you want out of your backups. That's what you want out of backup players. You just want solid production and just to hold the steering wheel in place and don't run off the tracks. Boom. He played well. I think he could be a good complement to Isaiah Pacheco. I thought Samaje Perine, who they picked up right before the season started, I thought he had a couple nice plays in there. But Samaje Perine's always been like a role player, kind of like, just like a third down back, catch out of the backfield. You can hit out the ball to him a couple times if your starter is a little gassed. But, I mean, Carson Steele, I mean, this dude's a dude. He can play. And it's going to be good to see, having a good backup to Isaiah Pacheco, who really hasn't had a decent backup since he's been with Kansas City, in my opinion. But hey, Carson Steele could be that guy for you. Undrafted free agent, getting his first NFL start and playing well in his first game. Congratulations to that young man. Rashee Rice, he looks pretty good. Despite the fact that all the off the field stuff that happened and all that stuff, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to talk about it. It's not what the show is about. But 2 out of 3 games, he's had over 100 yards, 6 catches. He had 7 catches in week 1. He had a touchdown in this game too, and right now he's the Chiefs' best weapon. He's their most consistent weapon. Outside of Isaiah Pacheco and then Carson Steele in week 3, outside in terms of receivers, he's the only thing that's getting consistent production. And guys like Sky Moore haven't done much. Xavier Worthy, outside of a couple good plays in week 1, hasn't done much of anything, which you thought you would expect to see more. But then again, rookies all across the league right now in the first round are inconsistent collectively. So it's not like it's, huge. But the big one is Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce has been an absolute non-factor these first 3 games. And some people are starting to wonder, why is it? It's because, is he distracted off the field with Taylor Swift? Is he getting too old? We don't know. Obviously, we don't know the answer. But the bottom line is that he's not playing how he should. And, you would think it's allowing more receivers to shine. Rashee Rice is shining. But outside of Rashee Rice, no one else is really stepping up. And early on, the Chiefs are having success, and they're always going to have some form of success. But when you go up against an elite football team like Buffalo, or you go up against, I don't know, I have to really rack my brain right now for which teams are elite right now at standing at 3-0 off the top of my head. But, there's going to be a point in time where something's not going to click. Rashee Rice isn't going to play well, and someone's going to have to step up, and they can't. But guess what? I have the Chiefs making the playoffs for a reason, because they're the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to make it no matter what. And the thing is, despite all that I'm saying right now, it's probably not going to matter. Because, Travis Kelce might be a non-factor all season long. And you know what's going to happen? Once the playoffs roll around, that dude's going to be back to normal form like he had never left. And I'm calling that right now. He might be a non-factor all season, and people are going to say he's washed. And then when the playoffs rolls around, he is going to come back, and he's literally going to be old Travis Kelce as we know and love him. I mean, I'm like, I can feel it. I just know some crap like that's going to happen. But it is what it is. Moving on to the Falcons, though, I thought, the tablet fell over. The stand that's on it right here, the little snap thing that snaps it into place to keep it up, broke. So I haven't, it's, if I push it the wrong way, it's going to fall over. But I thought Kirk Cousins played well in this game. There's a couple things that I didn't like to see. Obviously the interception was kind of rough. Then the fumble, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I thought he did enough to win. He played fine in this game. The running game was a struggle. Bijan Robinson could get going. Tyler Algier, he was better in the yards per carry department, but he didn't get very many runs and that many yards, so not very effective. And overall, this game was a tale of 2 time crunches. You look at the 2-minute warning in the end of the first half and the end of the game, that's where the money, or that's where the meat and potatoes of this game was. 2-minute warning going into the second half, the end of the first half going into the second half was absolute chaos. The sequence, Mahomes throws a pick, Jesse Bates picks it off, and then on the next drive, Kirk and company are driving down the field. Can't remember who got the strip sack, but the ball flies out of Kirk Cousins' hands. It's a fumble. Bijan Robinson tries to pick it up, but he realizes he can't. He's not going to make it, so he kicks the ball out of bounds. And then the ball goes back to Kansas City. They can't do anything. I think the Falcons get the ball back one more time, and they can't do anything. It was absolute chaos in the second half. And I tuned into the game. Admittedly, I tuned into the game about halfway through the second quarter. So that was the first real action I actually saw. And I was like, okay, this game is actually getting pretty good. because, not very many teams can kind of go toe-to-toe like that with the Chiefs like the Falcons did. And that was really cool to see, because chaos is always fun, but to see chaos happen to the Kansas City Chiefs is always very fun. It's different, because you're not used to seeing Chiefs turnovers. And you see that, and then, of course, Kirk Cousins did, the fumble. The fumble was pretty funny. But it's cool. It's exciting. That's what the NFL is all about. It's fun. All the random stuff that can happen in a game. And going into the end of the game, though, the last 2 minutes, I'm not going to be the guy that talks about referees. There will be a rant one day. I'm going to take the time to, this is probably going to be, the ultimate rant. If the NFL is rigged or not, I don't think it is. But here's the thing. I don't think the NFL is rigged. But when players have been busted for gambling on NFL games, in my opinion, there's nothing stopping the refs from doing the exact same thing. But that's not the conversation we're having. Because you can talk about how, the refs missed an obvious pass interference on Kyle Pitts in the end zone on that final drive, and it's like, shut up. There's missed calls on both sides. It happens every single game. And does it happen to go in the Chiefs' favor more often than not? Yes, but here's the tale of the tape. The Falcons were in the red zone with 2 minutes to go with 2 or 3 timeouts, and they could not score. If you have that much time and all that leverage with the timeouts in your back pocket, and you can't go down to the red zone and score a touchdown to at least take the lead, you deserve to lose. Simply put, you can't do that. You need to execute in those situations, and they didn't. The 4th down run was absolutely terrible. It was an outside handoff to Bijan Robinson, looked like a stretch play, and between the left tackle and the left guard in the center, there was a 3 to 4 yard gap, super wide gap. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but linebacker Nick Bolton ran straight through it, and Bijan Robinson was tackled. And what's frustrating to me is that the left tackle and right and left guard, they had their mans covered, and Tyler Algier runs past the wide open gap and the wide open Nick Bolton coming down through, and just tries to help the other 2 offensive linemen block. And it's what's happening here? Was it supposed to be? Was he supposed to block? Was the gap supposed to be that big? I have no idea what exactly the play was supposed to be and where it was supposed to go. But considering the space of the gap, considering how big it was, I would be inclined to believe that was the running lane, and Tyler Algier was the third man, and the third player to stop the run, Nick Bolton, came through, stopped Bijan Robinson. Was that a bad play call? Maybe. But, that's poor execution. Someone's got to pick up that block. Someone has to pick up that block, and it didn't work, and it ended up costing the Falcons the game. But I don't know if you want to say that, like I said, I don't know if it's a bad call. I don't know, whatever. Either way, it's poor execution, and what a chaotic way for both halves to end in a really good football game overall. But we're not talking about good football games with this one. The Buffalo Bills beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 47-10, and say what you want about Josh Allen with the turnovers, and players say he's overrated. This dude's an MVP candidate early on this year. He's an MVP candidate. Say what you want. It's true. It's true. This offense, Stephon Diggs left. This offense is gonna suck. The receivers aren't good. And guess what? The receivers aren't performing well as much as you would expect. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter. Josh Allen is doing Josh Allen things. Josh Allen playing this year reminds me a lot of last year's Mahomes, when he wasn't getting anything out of his wide receivers. They weren't doing jack crap. But then they went on and won the Super Bowl regardless. And I'm not saying the Bills are going to go on and win the Super Bowl or nothing. But you see how Josh Allen is seemingly making plays with nobody running out there of significance? That's what's happening right now. He's making plays when his 3 starting receivers are Curtis Samuel, who's a veteran. Then you got Keon Coleman, who's a rookie, and Khalil Shakir, who's going into year 2. And then you have Dawson Knox, who's a good tight end. And you have Dalton Kincaid, who's going into year 2. So it's a mostly young receiving room in general. Not to mention James Cook going in his third year out of the backfield, right? And then his backup, Ray Davis, is a rookie out of Kentucky. The offensive weapons around Josh Allen are mostly young. And so for Josh Allen to be doing what he's doing and, getting the production that he's getting, dropping 47 points on Jacksonville, excuse me, but, Josh Allen's an early MVP candidate. The way he's playing, given the stuff that's around him, how could you not? How could you not? And here's the thing, Josh Allen's led the league in turnovers over the past few years or whatever, how long he's been in the league, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Josh Allen makes a ton of great plays too. And here's the thing. If you're throwing for a ton of touchdowns and you're putting points on the board and constantly getting your team downfield and giving them in position to score regardless, it doesn't matter how many turnovers you throw. The NFL's a passing league now. Of course, when more prominent passing offenses go into the league, there's going to be more passes, which in turn leads to more interceptions. That's a simple fact of the game. And Josh Allen, the way he's been playing, he's actually got the turnovers down for the most part. Has he even had any turnovers this year? He's had to have like one or two, I think. I'm pretty sure. But still, the way he's playing right now, early MVP candidate. Other than that, for the Buffalo Bills, Damar Hamlin got his first career interception. First year starter for the first time, gets his first career interception. Funnily enough, on Monday Night Football. And good for him. Good for him. It's been a really tough journey. Obviously, that moment against Cincinnati last year or was it the year before? Maybe the year before. I can't remember. I'm sorry. But when it happened, it was devastating. It was sad. And, see him bounce back and be a starter this year and then now get his first career interception on Monday Night Football, that's a very special moment for him. And that's a moment that he's always going to remember. And I think that's one we're all going to remember too. Good for Damar Hamlin for making that play. And overall, Buffalo is on a mission. A lot of people thought Buffalo would take a step back this year. Newsflash, it doesn't look like that's happening. It does not look like that's happening. They're 3-0 right now. And they're on a mission. Right now, they're proving people wrong. And they're out to, rub it in your face too. And having a really strong offensive showing against Arizona week 1 and blowing the backs off of no. I really just said blowing their backs out on the show. I can't believe I just said that. Well, if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. I'm sorry. If you don't know, don't look it up. You're fine. You don't need to know. But they beat the brakes. Here's a better word. They beat the brakes off of Miami. They beat the absolute brakes even harder off of Jacksonville. And they're I don't know what the word is. They're beating the crap out of people. And like I said, the Bills are on a mission to prove people wrong that doubted them. And they're rubbing it in our faces too. But going to the team that got their brakes beat off of, Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars, they are 0-3. They are the second team to go 0-3 this year. And can we just finally admit it? Can we just finally admit that Trevor Lawrence is not good, please? Can we finally just admit it? At this point, there's no evidence that you can tell me that Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback. You can't. You simply cannot. Because here's the thing. Realistically, I've said it before and I've said it again, the only time he's had a good season was not even a full good season. In 2022, that first half of the season was garbage. And the second half was great. And it ended up going to the playoffs. Outside of that, Trevor Lawrence has not been good. He's been mid at best, inconsistent at best. And straight up this year, Trevor Lawrence has been bad. He has been bad. He has not been good. He has been bad. And I know people talk about the Daniel Jones stats compared to it. But look at this. I'm going to throw a graphic up on screen right now. This is from BR Gridiron, by the way. Credits to them. But look at this. Look at the win-loss record here. Look at the yards. Look at the touchdown to interception ratio. Like, look at this stuff. How can you look at that? How can you look at that and say that Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback? It's not about, is Trevor Lawrence better than Daniel Jones? No, Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than Daniel Jones just because, okay, his potential is much higher. So hopes and dreams, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But Jesus Christ, you just got paid a massive contract extension. You're making $55 million a year average annual value, and you can't even look decent? You can't even look good? Overpaid. 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 This dude is overpaid. It's plain and simple. I'm sorry. He hasn't shown anything enough that he deserves the contract that he got. Now, this is dogging on Trevor Lawrence, a football player. Here's the thing. I know he's a great dude. And if you've listened to him, he's a great dude. God bless him. But on the football field, this man is trash. And this is not just him. Look at, like, going back to this top 10 quarterback thing. If you want to check that out, go check out Shumake Take Rants 8 where I talk about this. Look at the quarterbacks right now. Top 10. Dak, inconsistent. Jordan Love, hasn't played in week 1 and hasn't played since. Joe Burrow, currently 0-3. Is it his fault? No. But I digress. He's 0-3. You look at Trevor Lawrence, we just talked about. 0-3 looks bad right now. Tua Tagovailoa, he is on IR right now and hasn't played. And he's going to miss the next 2 games. Then you look at Jared Goff. He's played phenomenal. He's had a great season so far right now in the first 3 weeks. And he's been nothing but great ever since he's gotten to Detroit. Justin Herbert, he's hurt right now. But you know what? When he's healthy, he's a great quarterback. Fine. At this point, fine. You got to give it to him. Compared to everyone else on the top of the list, fine. You got to give it to him. Excuse me. Lamar Jackson, number 8. He's been playing fine this year. He's been good. He's not been bad. And, it's justifiable. It makes sense. He's playing good. Jalen Hurts, he's playing good right now for the most part. Kyler Murray, he's playing great. He's surprising me, at least. But you look at Trevor Lawrence and these top guys, and it's like, what the heck are we doing here? What the actual heck are we doing here? And I'm sorry, Trevor Lawrence is the worst defender on this list. I know a lot of people would say Dak, and I get it. But Trevor Lawrence, like, I've never seen a quarterback objectively be not good and get this contract. It's literally, like I said in the rant, paying and hoping. Paying and hoping. You're paying and hoping that he's going to develop and be the guy you want to be. Because if you're wrong and you can't develop him, you're going to be sent back to the Stone Age. You're going back and setting your franchise back for years. And not to mention, you let him go and he flourishes, it makes your organization look that much more like a bunch of clowns. And so out of fear of, being wrong, you're kind of overextending. You're overextending and kind of like, I don't know what analogy there is to describe it. It's like if it's a gamble. It's like you're gambling and you're down on your luck, you're playing blackjack, you've lost the past 3 hands and you're on to your last chip. And instead of just cutting your losses and going away, you decide to play that last chip and hopefully get something back, and you lose it, and now you're dead broke. It's literally the same concept. You're taking a risk or doing something when the objective fact that, like, there's one clear, obvious answer, and you're going against the grain. Trevor Lawrence has not been good, and you pay him? Why? That makes no sense. Just like if you lose 3 hands in a row in blackjack, why are you going to spend your last chip? Cut your losses and move on. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. The offense overall is just inconsistent. The running game is inconsistent. The wide receivers are inconsistent. They constantly shoot themselves in the foot, and this defense is just straight playing up bad. The secondary is one of the worst in the NFL. They cannot cover receivers for their lives. The defense is not generating enough pressure as they should, considering that they have Josh Hines, Allen, Javon Walker, and Eric Armstead on the defensive line. And they're not doing enough. And I told people going into this year, Jacksonville's going to take a step back, and they're 0-3. Anyone who thought, they're going to have a winning record, make the playoffs, that's not happening. Statistically, that doesn't happen. I'm not going to rule it out entirely, but here's the thing. When you're 0-3, you're not making the playoffs. The statistic overwhelmingly goes in that favor. Sorry. Trevor Lawrence is not good right now. He's not good, overpaid, and it showed today. You want to go up against the Buffalo Bills? Here's your chance to show that, hey, Trevor Lawrence here's all of his potential. He can be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Put him against one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and he literally can't hold a candlelight to Josh Allen. Sorry. Trevor Lawrence is overpaid, overrated, not good right now, and the Jaguars are 0-3. They're a bad football team. But let's end this thing on a high note. I kind of went on a rant there. I had a mini Shumake Take rant in a regular episode. But we got the Washington Commanders, beating the Cincinnati Bengals 38-33. And the cool thing about this game collectively was that this is the first game since 1940. So it's been 83 years since we've seen an NFL football game where we did not have a punt or a turnover. How does that happen? In the thousands of games that have been played over the past 83 years of the National Football League's existence, we haven't had a game at any point in there that didn't have a punt and a turnover at the same time. That's like one of those crazy stats that just blows your mind. You look at that and you're like, that can't be real. And you look back at it and holy crap, it's real. And they say records are meant to be broken. Well, even 83-year-old records are meant to be broken, I guess. But that's a really cool thing coming away from this game. And, it's a reflection of how close and how fun this game really was. It was back and forth. And for the Bengals, Joe Burrow, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. He played well. Zach Moss and Chase Brown emerged as a duo in the backfield. They both looked good together for the first time. Jamar Chase finally had 100 yards. He finally did something. Jesus Christ. We've been waiting for that. And that's all you want to see out of your offense. You start out slow these first couple games. Week 3, you kind of get a break with the Commanders' defense not being very good. And you bounce back. Offensively, you bounce back. You bounce back and you play better. And you had a chance to win. But the reason why the Bengals didn't win this game was because of their defense. It's bad. They're missing starters on the defensive line, especially the interior. Right now, the only good thing on that defensive line is Trey Hendrickson, who got a sack. And he's one of the best pass rushers in the league by far. But the secondary hasn't been very good either. They've been getting torched these week 2 and week 3. Week 1, they really weren't. But Trent Brown, the right tackle for Cincinnati, he's done for the year, so that's unfortunate. Hoping that he recovers quickly and that he can be ready for next year. But that's why the Bengals are 0-3. This team is too inconsistent right now. It's too inconsistent. They're not consistent enough on offense for the first 3 weeks, and the defense hasn't been good enough the first 3 weeks. It hasn't been. And if you want to win football games, you got to at least be consistent in one spot. And you know why the Commanders are 2-1? Why they are how they are and why they won this game? Because they are consistent in one spot. And you know what that consistent spot is? It's the quarterback. It's the offense. Jaden freaking Daniels, number 2 pick out of LSU. This LSU battle, by the way, was fun in its own right with the quarterbacks Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels. But Jaden Daniels stole the show and had one of the best performances a rookie quarterback has ever had in an NFL game. Listen to these stats. 21 of 23, 91.3% completion. Yeah, he completed 91.3% of his passes. 254 passing yards, 2 pass touchdowns with a 141.7 passer rating, and ran for 39 yards and had a rushing touchdown. And here's the thing. He was exactly as he was advertised coming out of LSU. Exactly as advertised. And I expected this. I told people, listen, Jaden Daniels despite his running ability, he is a much more polished thrower than any dual threat any more dual threat quarterback coming into the draft in recent years. He is the most polished passer. And you can see it. He had an absolute beautiful ball in the third quarter to Terry McLaurin. Another deep shot to Terry McLaurin that was good. He was throwing short. He was throwing deep. And a lot of people thought, can he throw the deep ball? Because his arm talent is not the best, he doesn't have the strongest arm, and he didn't throw a lot of deep shots in college anyways. And guess what? He's killing it right now with the Commanders in this offense with Cliff Kingsbury as the offensive coordinator. And if you want to hear some more stats, some more records, his completion percentage sets a new rookie record where the player attempted at least 20 passes. This record was originally set by Dak Prescott, who held the record at 88.9% completion percentage. And then Jaden Daniels is the only player in NFL history to pass for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, run for a touchdown, and complete 90% of his passes since at least 1950. You want to go to them old stats. Stats are meant to be broken. Jaden Daniels, he played absolutely incredible in this game, and there's no way to sugarcoat it. Right now, this offense is great. It's really, really good. And for the defense for the Commanders, it's not very good. But as I said, if you want to win football games, at least one side of the ball has to be consistent. And with the Commanders, it's been their offense that's been consistent. It's been productive. It's been good. And right now, it's overcoming the defense's shortcomings. They're 2-1 right now. That's all I'm going to say is I thought the Commanders were going to finish 7-10 or 5-12, something like that, because I thought there was too many wins to go around. Well, guess what? The wins that were too many to go around for them, as I thought, well, they're taking them away right now. They're taking them away right now. I didn't have them starting 2-1. I had them starting 1-2. So good for them. They just stole one from Cincinnati. They went in their building and beat them. Good for Jaden Daniels. This is a great game from him. And right now, he's the best rookie quarterback by far. And right now, early Rookie of the Year favorite, Washington. You guys might have got a good one. Because right now, he's playing great. And compared to the rest of his peers in this draft, oh man, you love to see what Jaden Daniels is doing in Washington. So I have to do something really quick. I have to look and see at the teams that are 3-0. Because I forgot to put it into the script of the segment of, okay, we're going to look at the 3-0 teams, and we're going to look at the 0-3 teams, and are they overrated for the undefeated teams? And for the teams that are winless, is it time to hit the panic button? And so let me look at NFL standings. Just give me a second. We're getting there. Shouldn't take too long, right? Take a sip of water while this loads. God, I love water. It's so good. There's a reminder to drink water. But let's look at the teams that are 3-0. Let's look at those. Just give me a second. It's loading. One more second. So looking at the entire league right now, there are currently 5 teams that are 3-0. And looking at are they legit or are they overrated? Buffalo Bills, they're legit. Talked about it when we recapped Buffalo and Jacksonville. They are on a mission to prove people wrong, and right now they're doing it. They're absolutely doing it. They're playing great football in offense and defense. And there's not much to say about that I already haven't said so far in this show. But they're legit. Kansas City Chiefs, they're legit. They've won the Super Bowl back-to-back years. And despite the passing game not being, as explosive and as consistent across all their receivers as you would like to see, you know what? They've won 3 games. That hasn't been pretty. They've all been one-score games. But they're showing you why they're 2-time Super Bowl champions and why they're a good organization and good football team. Good football teams win those games like that. They're legit. The Vikings. Are the Vikings legit? Here's our first big one. The three of these are big ones. I'm going to take my hat off for a second because I'm starting to sweat. I don't have any fans on in here, so it's getting hot. But are the Vikings legit? This one's very interesting. Because like hot take, like instant reaction, I want to say yes. I really, really, really want to say yes. But at the same time, something tells me that I need to hold off. Something tells me I need to pump my brakes just a minute. Why? Because something this almost feels too good to be true for me. It almost feels too good to be true. And we've seen teams like this happen almost every year. Remember that time a few years ago when the Carolina Panthers started 3-0 and then they won like 6 games the entire year? Do you guys remember that? I remember that. And I'm not saying this feels like that team at all, but here's the thing. A lot of people thought the Vikings weren't going to be good, and they're shocking people right now. But the way it's been happening, it almost feels too good to be true. I'm not going to say that they're not legit, but right now, like, I want to see a little bit more. If the Vikings start off, like, if they win next week, fine. I'll say they're legit. Because if you start your year 4-0, it's really hard to finish with a losing record. That's all I'm going to tell you. The stats show it. If they can win this game and start 4-0, I'll say it. They're definitively legit. The next one on this list, the Pittsburgh Steelers being 3-0. Are they legit? No. And I'm sorry, Steelers fans. It's hard to say that, they're not legit. But here's the thing. The defense is really freaking good. The defense is great. I'm not going to deny that. Let's throw my hat back on. But here's the thing. The offense isn't good enough to me. It's very boring. It's very archaic. Well, I say archaic, but it's boring. It's very boring football. And is it working and is it clean? Yes. Justin Fields is playing well? Yes. And as much as I dogged on Justin Fields for a while, on the show, off the show, is he playing well right now? Yes. Should he start the rest of the year? There's an argument to be made for it, most certainly. Because you don't want to start Russell Wilson when he comes back and then all of a sudden he's bad and then you have a quarterback controversy. Because right now, what you're doing with Justin Fields is working. So I'd be inclined to stick with it, for sure. But once you start playing some of the more high-powered offensive football teams, I mean, you're facing the Atlanta Falcons, who I expected to start off slow in that game. Were slow. You just went up against the Chargers, who don't have great offensive weapons, and Justin Herbert is injured. Who did they face week 2? Who did they face? I can't remember who they faced, but their offense wasn't that good. And they haven't faced a good NFL offense yet. So I'm skeptical. Can this team fare against a really good football team in the NFL? And I'm just waiting and seeing. Here, if the Steelers keep winning games, I'll call them legit. But as of right now, I'm not sure. They took advantage of their early season, opportunities with the teams they're going up against. And right now, they're 3-0. But is it going to stay like that? Are they going to continue winning like that? I'm not sure. I'm not sure right now. I have to see them. Let's see them beat a good team. And then I can give you a more definitive answer. The Seattle Seahawks. Are the Seattle Seahawks legit? Honestly, I'm going to go bold here, and I'm going to say they are. I'm going to say they are, because here's the thing. Going into this year, I knew the offense was going to be good. They have great offensive weapons. There was no denying that this offense was going to be good. But the X factor was this defense, because the pass rush wasn't there. It was bad. You brought in a young defensive head coach to fix it. And you know what's happened? He fixed it. It's fixed. The Seahawks have a pass rush. This defense as a unit is playing so much better. And this team looks like the most complete football team since Pete Carroll. Or not even since Russell Wilson left. Not even before Russell Wilson left. Like the past few years of Russell Wilson's time in Seattle to now, this is the most complete football team I've seen from the Seattle Seahawks fielded so far. And that's crazy. They look good on offense. They look good on defense. They beat down on the Dolphins. They beat the Patriots in overtime. And then week 1, they beat the Broncos. So they really haven't faced anybody good. But here's the thing. They're consistent. They are consistent. They're not boring like the Steelers. They're not, kind of surprising people. Maybe they are surprising people, but they're not as shocking as the Vikings. I'm not going to put them on the same pedestal as the Chiefs and the Bills. But they look consistent. They look good all the way around. And right now, how can you not have a little bit more faith in the Seahawks than you did going into the year? Right now, they're on the up and up. They're trending upwards. And I have them trending upwards going into next week for the week 4 preview. Well, actually, no, I don't. Excuse me. We'll get to that. Spoiler alert. Sorry. Either way, right now things are looking good. And for the Seahawks, I think even though I'm going to have them losing to Detroit next week, it's another I'm going to talk about it here at the end of the show. But the way the Seattle Seahawks have played good football, consistent football these past 3 weeks, I think they might be legit. They look really good, and there's something there that I can root for, and back them up when picking them to win football games. Going to the teams though that are 0-3, there's 3 of them: the Titans, the Jaguars, and the Bengals. Starting with the Cincinnati Bengals, honestly, for all 3 of these teams, I'm hitting the panic button. But more than any of them, it's the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm hitting the panic button. Because you paid Joe Burrow, and he's playing fine, but the rest of the team around him, on defense especially, is not doing enough. Let me just adjust and put my leg up. Sorry. And right now, I don't know what it is. I don't know why the Bengals are just not as consistent as they normally are. I know they start off slow, so it is what it is, but it's hard to bounce back from being 0-3. I don't have the statistic in the script or off the top of my head, but you only have a 2 to 3% chance of making the playoffs if you start the year 0-3. Your odds of making only 6 teams since 1990 have made the playoffs after starting 0-3. And that goes to show that if you don't start off your season with success of any kind, you're going to have a long season. And right now, with the way the Bengals are playing, I'm very concerned that that's going to be the case. But likewise, if there's any of these 3 teams that are 0-3 that's going to bounce back, it's Cincinnati. Because throughout Joe Burrow's career, it's hard to count out Joe Burrow. But, the stats are very hard to, historically, 0-3 is almost impossible to come back from. But, if you want to use the Joe Burrow caveat that, it's Joe Burrow, then by all means use it. But if this continues, then the Bengals are going to be in for a long season. But the 2 teams that are going to be in for a long season, without a shadow of a doubt at this point, Jacksonville Jaguars, another team I'm hitting the panic button, slamming it hard. Why? As I said, Trevor Lawrence looks bad. This team looks bad. And what did I tell people? I'm going to be a broken record about this all year long as Jacksonville keeps losing games. This roster is not that great. The offensive line, I'm not sold on it. The weapons, I'm not sold on it. The secondary is bad. The only piece on this offense, or on this team, that I thought got better on paper was the offensive line to a certain extent, and then the defensive line. That was it. The secondary got worse. The linebackers mostly stayed the same. Quarterbacks, running backs stayed the same. The only thing is, Trevor Lawrence, he's playing bad. He's, tied for the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL in terms of average annual value, and he's not playing good. He's not playing well. And, here's the thing. If this doesn't get any better, anytime soon, this is going to be one of the worst contracts we've ever seen in NFL history. I'm not going to call it definitively yet because there's still a chance that we're proven wrong. But right now, the way the Jacksonville Jaguars are playing, they're not consistent on either side of the football. That's why they're not winning games, and they're not going to come back from this. That's why I have them finishing 7-10. And at this point, you're 0-3. That's almost like your best case scenarios if you can finish 7-10. So we'll just have to see. But right now, the Jaguars sound the alarms because Trevor Lawrence right now is not it. And lastly, for the Tennessee Titans, they're 0-3. I'm also hitting the panic button. I'm hitting the panic button here, and the reason why I'm hitting the panic button for all 3 of these teams is because, the Bengals and Jaguars, a lot of people expected to be good. I thought the Titans were going to be good this year, despite all people saying that, and that's why I have them hitting the panic button, Because it's not just that, they're bad and they're surprisingly bad, and, well, I thought they were going to be good, so I'm hitting the panic button because they're actually bad. No, it's because Will Levis is leading the league in turnovers. That's why. Because Will Levis is legitimately throwing games away and giving away the game for the Titans. And the thing is, against Chicago, they were up in that game, blew the lead. They were up against the Jets, blew that lead, and lost two very winnable games. This team could legitimately be 2-1 right now if things were more consistent. And that's the thing. It's a common theme. If you're not consistent on at least one side of the ball, you don't win football games. You can't. You simply can't. And no other team has been like that other than the Titans. Because the first couple of weeks, they had lost two one-score games, and the offense was literally throwing the game away, but their defense was playing lights out. And then week 3, Malik Willis comes in there and busts the doors down, and now nothing looks hopeful. The only thing right now for the Titans that actually looks legitimate and looks good is, of course, Nick Folk, Ryan Stonehouse, their special teams, which is the only thing the rest of the special teams have been god-awful. 2 block punts ain't going to do it. And then their rookie left tackle, J.C. Latham's been playing pretty darn good, if I do say so myself. But other than that, what do you got? This team makes too many mistakes. This team is, giving away points like free lunch. And right now, the Titans, I can't believe I'm saying this, but their season's, right now it's over. Right now their season's done. Because they can't get out of their own way. This has been a common theme with the Titans over the past couple years, is that the only reason why they're really losing games is because they keep shooting themselves in the foot. And by this point, they've shot themselves in the foot so many times that there's almost not even a foot left to shoot. So at this point, they got to start shooting themselves in the leg until they shoot themselves all the way up the body until everything falls off the tracks and there's nothing left. And they have an opportunity to get it right against Miami, against an injured Miami team with a defense. This is probably the worst defense they've gone up against. Well, this is the worst defense they've gone up against all year. And we'll talk about it here at the end of the show. But this game has to be one that Tennessee wins. But we're going to get there in a little bit. But we got to start with Thursday Night Football, going into my predictions for this game. If you give me a second, I think I just went to the wrong script. Nope, I'm at the right script. But before we go do that, last week I went 8-8 in my predictions, so still mid. And my overall record right now, picking games in season, is 23-25. So we're still not a great start to the season, but I'm pretty confident that this one will be a good bounce back week for me. And that begins with the Cowboys at the Giants on Thursday Night Football. And give me the Cowboys to win this game. I know that the Giants won last week against Cleveland. Their offense looked decent. The defense got a pass rush. And what I said the Giants needed to do in order to win games is what the formula was. And there is an opportunity here for them to upset. I'm not going to rule it out. But something tells me that the Cowboys are just better, despite their inconsistencies on offense and their defense being a disappointment. Right now, I'm more inclined to believe in the Cowboys because I think they're still the better football team. Give me the Cowboys to win, but I'm not going to rule out a Giants upset here. I'm not going to rule it out. And here's the thing. If Giants come into the Cowboys are going to the Giants. But if the Giants beat the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football, the trains might be officially off the tracks for the Cowboys. And there's a reason why I had them going 9-8, but I didn't think it would be this bad or this worrisome so early into the year. But that's only hypothetical. Give me the Cowboys to win this game on Thursday Night Football against the New York Giants. The next game, this is the best game of the week right here in my opinion. You got the New Orleans Saints going against the Atlanta Falcons, and this one's tough. This one is probably the game that's going to go, I can say, this one's genuinely 50-50. It's hard because here's the thing. The Falcons, they're 1-2 right now. Their offense is getting, it's heating up. It's getting better. And the Saints, they fell back down to earth against the Eagles in a pretty tough way, although they were still competitive. And I think with the offense, this game is going to be about which offense can continue to build and which defense is going to get more stops. And I know that's pretty basic. Like, obviously, oh yeah, if your offense is better and your defense gets more stops, you're going to win the football game. Of course you're going to. But that's not the point. The point is, here's the thing. The Saints offense was great the first 2 weeks, and last week it was not that good. The Falcons, the first couple weeks, the offense wasn't good. And the Falcons offense was good in week 2. Let me take it back. They started off slow, and now they've heated up. So it's kind of a tale of two opposites, where which offense is going to reveal itself. Because by week 4, we're going to have a definitive idea of what each team is. And for each of these teams, they got to figure out what this offense is for them. Their defenses, they've both been good, so I expect them to both be competitive, but it's a matter of which defense is going to create more opportunities for their offense. And right now, give me the Falcons to win this game, because I still think the Falcons are the best team in this division. I still think it's their division to lose, although between these two teams in Tampa, this division race is going to be a lot closer than I thought. Give me the Falcons to win this game, despite this one going either way. To me, I just think the Falcons, with the stuff they have the players they have on their team, I think it's going to help them fare a lot better. I think Raheem Morris is a better football coach, and right now, I have a little bit more faith in the Atlanta Falcons to bounce back in this game. Next up, the Bengals at the Carolina Panthers. And here's the thing. The way the Panthers played last week with Andy Dalton at quarterback, it changes everything. It changes everything. If Bryce Young was starting, I would pick the Bengals outright and it wouldn't be even close. But considering how well Andy Dalton played last week, and he's one of the Bengals, Joe Burrow, and then for the Panthers, Andy Dalton, they're the only two quarterbacks so far this year that have thrown for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in a single game so far this year. And given how well the Panthers played against the Raiders defense, I would expect them to have play well against the Bengals defense as well, which I mentioned. The secondary is not performing to expectations. The defensive line is missing players in the interior due to injury. And, it's crazy to think. But honestly, I'm going with the upset. As much people want to pick the Bengals to win, and as much as they're probably going to win this game, if I'm being entirely honest, something tells me to pick Carolina to win this game. Something tells me that we might be seeing an Andy Dalton insanity run. And I'm all for that, because insanity runs are pretty freaking cool in their own way. But this is my hot take for this week. Give me the Carolina Panthers to upset the Cincinnati Bengals and send them to 0-4. This one is going to be interesting to talk about on Sunday. Next up, we have the Rams going to Chicago to face the Bears. Give me the Rams to win this game. They are the better football team. They started this year 0-2, and what did they do? They went and they beat their division rival in the 49ers on a game-winning field goal. They win the game, and they proved why, they're a good football team. Because good football teams, if they're 0-2, they bounce back and they win. And I know that the 49ers roster, especially the receiving weapons, was depleted, but the Rams, they were also depleted. And right now, the Bears' offense is completely out of sorts. Caleb Williams hasn't looked good. The offensive line has been a very disappointing piece on this offense entirely. And the defense has been all right, but it has not been as good as it was at the end of last year. And right now, the Rams are a winning football team. Well, they're not a winning football team right now. They're 1-2, but they're a mostly winning franchise. And I have more inclination to buy into the Rams than I do Chicago. So give me the Rams to win this game. I'm sorry, but Chicago fans, you're about to see your team fall to 1-3. And at this point, if that happens, they're not making the playoffs. So this is a must-win game for Chicago, but I don't think that it's going to happen, unfortunately. The Rams, I think, are just a better football team, and that's that. Moving on, this one also has the potential to be one of the best games of the week. It's the Vikings going to the Green Bay Packers, and here's the thing. I had the Vikings winning this game. And the reason why I'm not saying it's the best game, because there's a possibility that Jordan Love comes back and plays this week. And Jordan Love, if he comes back, I expect the offense to be a little bit different. I don't expect it to be as normal as how they normally run it, because he's missed some time. There's going to be some rust, and I think ultimately that's what's going to give the Vikings the edge here. I expect Jordan Love to come back, be a little rusty, and the Vikings, on the roll that they're on, are going to move to 4-0, and if that's the case, I will say it on Sunday that the Vikings are legit, but it's going to take them to beat their first true test of the season. Well, no, I take that back. They beat Houston pretty bad last week. Houston's a good football team. I'm sorry. Whoopsie daisy. But it's another test. It's another true test against a good football team, especially one that has a very, very good defense starting off this year. And if the Vikings can do it, and I think they can, they're going to be legit. But for the Packers, I think Jordan Love comes back. He's going to be a little rusty, and that's going to, and like I said, that's what's going to give the Vikings the edge in this game. Moving on to the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Houston Texans. Give me the Texans to win this game. Just like with the Rams and the Bears, Texans right now are the better team by far, and it's not close. I know it's a divisional rival, so the game's going to be closer than people think, than I probably think it's going to be, but the Texans are a better football team, and they're at home, and they got their butts kicked against the Vikings a week ago, and they're probably fuming mad because they have high expectations. A lot of people pick this team to be a Super Bowl contender. So getting the brakes beaten off you by Sam Darnold, that doesn't look good for that when you're supposed to be a Super Bowl contender. So I expect the Texans to bounce back in this game. The offense is going to do wonders against this Jaguars defense and secondary that's horrendous. And defensively, it's been inconsistent for Houston, but no better game to get right than the Jaguars offense, which has been straight up bad. There's no way to sugarcoat it. I think the Houston Texans are going to win this game by double digits, and they're the better football team, plain and simple. Next up, we got the Steelers at the Indianapolis Colts, and I said it, if the Steelers go 4-0, I'd be more inclined to call them legit, but they're not going up against a good football team this week either in the Indianapolis Colts, and I have them, the Steelers, winning this game because right now Anthony Richardson looks bad. At best, it's inconsistent. He's making nice throws, but right now, week 2, he completed like 10 passes. This week, he only completed 9 passes, and the inexperience of Anthony Richardson is showing, and you're not going to win football games completing 9-10 passes a game. It's simply not going to happen, and when you throw 5 interceptions over the course of 2 games, not including week 1, you're not going to win football games that way. You're simply not going to win football games, and with his defense being underwhelming, right now the Steelers are a better football team. Give me the Steelers to win, and for the Colts, they're going to fall to 1-3, and it's going to be another team people have been hyping up, and they're not going to meet expectations. That's why I have them going 8-9, because everyone wanted to hype up Anthony Richardson, and I said, pump your brakes. The inexperience is going to show, and the inexperience is showing right now for Anthony Richardson and the Colts. Next up, we have the Broncos at the Jets, and give me the Jets to win this game, but I expect the Broncos to keep this one close. They had a really good game against Tampa. They walloped them, they went in their house and pushed them around. And right now, shoot. I expect the Broncos to play better. I expect it. They showed that they can go in and do it. And here's an opportunity for them to show that they're going to be competitive. Because I think the Broncos are a bad football team right now, but you know what? I think they could be better than bad. Because all games they've been in, the first 2 games they lost them, but they've been competitive. In this game, last week they went up against Tampa, beat them down pretty good, and here's an opportunity here against the Jets. And I'm not going to rule out an upset here 100%. But it is hard to pick against the Jets right now with the way how they're playing on offense, how they're playing on defense. So for right now, give me the Jets to win this game. But keep your eye on the Broncos in this game. Keep your eye on how well they compete. Because if this game ends up being a one-score game and ends up being close, we're going to have a conversation about Denver being a little bit better than I think people realized. But speaking of Tampa, before, we got the Eagles traveling to Tampa to face the Bucs, and give me the Bucs to win this game. Kind of like here with how the Texans got beat down last week in a kind of a shocking way. The Bucs got beaten down in a very shocking way against Denver. Their awesome passing attack came to a halt. It got shut down. The offensive line fell apart. And I think they bounced back here against Philly. Because here's the thing. Philly's secondary played good, really good against the Falcons in week 3. But other than that, it's been inconsistent. And I think there's an opportunity here for the Bucs to bounce back and get their passing game back on track. And for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts has been a little turnover prone. And I think a very opportunistic Bucs defense early on this year so far. I think they're going to pounce on it. And I think there's a couple little plays here and there that are going to give the Bucs the edge. But this game is going to be close. It's going to be tight, I think. But I think with the Bucs and how bad they beat down the Eagles in the divisional round, you would think the Eagles will come back with a vengeance. And that's very possible here. I'm not going to rule it out. This game is another 50-50 in my opinion. But right now, I think the Bucs have my favor. So give me the Bucs to win this game. And then going into the 4 o'clock games, we got the Washington Commanders going against the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, they lost a close, tight game to the Detroit Lions last week. Their offense did not perform as expected. But here's the deal. You're going up against a Commanders defense that's not good, that's susceptible. And given how well the Cardinals offense was the first 2 weeks of the year, I expect a bounce back performance from Kyler Murray in this offense. And for the Commanders, I talked about it. Great game against Cincinnati. Jaden Daniels was great. He was fun. It was exciting. And I think this game is going to be fun, great, and exciting. But here's the thing. The Cardinals right now are more consistent. Their defense has kind of been up and down, but they have made plays. They've made plays that the Commanders' defense hasn't. And that's why I have the Cardinals winning this game. Their defense, with the plays that they've made, despite, being up and down, they've, it hasn't been winning football necessarily on defense for the Arizona Cardinals. But right now, their offense is carrying them. And the defense is making some plays where it is warranted compared to the Commanders, who really haven't done much of anything on defense. So give me the Cardinals the edge here to win this game, but this is another close one. This one's going to be very, very, very fun to watch, in my opinion. Moving on to a game that's not going to be very fun. The Patriots go to San Francisco to face the 49ers. Give me the 49ers to win this game. So many offensive players were out last week for the 49ers, and everyone thought, oh, Brock Purdy's going to look bad. He's a system quarterback. Duh! Guess what? He's a good quarterback. He showed you last week. Can you admit it now? Can you apologize? There you go. And here's the thing. Patriots, they're bad. They're bad. They've been more competitive than I thought, but they're bad. Their offense, putrid. The defense simply isn't good enough in making the most of their opportunities. And right now, the 49ers are just a better football team. Despite all their injuries, they're better. They still have Brandon Ayuk healthy. Juwan Jennings went insane last week. Jordan Mason is second in the league in rushing yards right now. So say what you want about the 49ers injuries. It hasn't really slowed them down all that much. So give me the 49ers to win this game by double digits handedly. Next up, we have the Chiefs going to LA to face the Chargers. And give me the Chiefs to win this game. They're on a roll 3-0. I have them winning until they show that they can't win. But the Chargers, this is an interesting game because Derwin James has been suspended for a hit that he made last week against the Steelers. And in my opinion, the suspension was stupid. Wait, was it stupid actually? Let me think about it for a second. No, it wasn't actually. He led with his head and pretty much used his head like a battering ram. So I don't know. I'll leave that to you guys in the comments to debate. I have to look back into it more to have a more definitive answer. Sorry, I apologize. But right now, give me the Chiefs to win because they're more consistent. And for the Chargers, I need to see more from their offense. J.K. Dobbins, I'm not worried about. It's the passing game I'm worried about. But if there's any game for the Chargers to kind of do something funny and pull an upset, It's against the Chiefs, and it's this game on their home turf. It's not, the odds of them winning are greater than zero, but right now I think the Chiefs are better, and that's why I have them winning this game. Next up on the list, we have the Browns at the Oakland. Oh my God, Oakland. What are we talking about here? The Browns at the Las Vegas Raiders. I have the Raiders winning this game because here's the thing: the Browns are a dumpster fire. They're bad. Quarterback's bad. Running back's not good. Receivers are bad. Offensive line is falling off a cliff compared to the last few years. The defense is severely underwhelming. And the Raiders, you know what? At least their offense has shown they can do something. Their defense has shown they can somewhat do something in a game. So right now, giving the Raiders to win, I think they're a much better football team. And I know that Antonio Pierce said that, we're not ruling out a quarterback change. Well, right now, if you start a quarterback controversy by starting Aiden O'Connell when Gardner Minshew really hasn't been playing all that bad, you're an idiot. So I think that Gardner Minshew plays this game. He plays another good game, wins for the Raiders, and he shuts the door on that potential quarterback controversy. And going into the Monday night doubleheader, the first one at 7:30, the Titans go to Miami to face the Dolphins. We remember what happened last year when these two teams faced on Monday Night Football. What happened? The Titans came back. It was a miraculous comeback. And this is one of the games Titans fans talk about when they say they have support in Will Levis. But right now, Will Levis hasn't been good. He leads the NFL in turnovers. But here's the thing. The Dolphins' quarterback situation is terrible. There's only two quarterbacks that could start this game, and I think it's Tyler Huntley or Tim Boyle. Some rumors have said Tyler Huntley is going to start, which can be a problem for Tennessee's defense considering how badly they played Malik Willis. But here's the thing. Tyler Huntley hasn't played a snap for the Dolphins yet. And this Titans defense, they need to get a pass rush. They're going up against a bad offensive line. Here's an opportunity to make that happen. They're going up against an offense that only works when their top receivers, Tyler Hill and Jalen Waddle, are able to get down the field. You have the corners to cover them up. You have the secondary on paper to make it happen. And with a backup quarterback, they should be almost a non-factor in this game like they've been weeks 2 and week 3. And if you can do that, you can beat the Miami Dolphins. Offensively, the Titans have an opportunity to come back here because the Dolphins' defense has not been that good either. One of the worst scoring defenses in the NFL. And with the Titans' offense, on paper, I think can still be productive. DeAndre Hopkins looked good last week against the Packers. And right now, the Titans, if they can't win this game, this is their most winnable game on their schedule right now. This is the most winnable one. If you can't go in and beat a third-string quarterback and a very bad scoring defense in Miami, better yet, if Tyler Huntley or Tim Boyle, whoever starts for them, outplays Will Levis and Will Levis continues to give away free points and continue his turnover thing without making a bunch of good plays to at least overcome it, Will Levis needs to be benched and he needs to be done. Because at this point, if the Titans, all the moves that they made, they said they wanted to be competitive, you got to be competitive at some point. If that's the philosophy for your team, you got to stick it. You got to bench Will Levis and you got to move on. I know it's kind of hot. That's a hot take. And Titans fans, they would be willing to agree with me. Some would not be willing to agree with me. And quite frankly, if you want to be realistic, start Will Levis the rest of the year. If he's good and he fixes it, he fixes it. And if he's bad, you get a better draft pick. But, it's a new organization practically. New coaches, new players. And if you're a new first-year head coach and you're trying to build a culture in the locker room, and your starting quarterback is giving the game away week after week after week, you got to make a change. You got to make a change because you can't lose faith in the locker room before your coaching career even really gets started. But for now, give me the Titans to win this game. I think there's an opportunity here for them to bounce back, and with how bad the Dolphins defense has been and how depleted the Dolphins team is at quarterback and their one-dimensional style of offense for the most part, I think the Titans bounce back here. I think they get their first win of the season, but if they don't, then Will Levis needs to be benched, I think. It's time to pull the plug. As much as I don't want to say that and, give up on a guy so early, you got to start seeing results if you're the Titans. It's now or never for them. But moving on to the Monday night game that I think is going to be a lot more fun and better. The Seahawks going to Detroit to face the Lions. Give me the Lions to win this game. Despite the fact that the Seahawks are 3-0 and they look good, I think the Lions are better. I think, they're better coached. They have a better offense. Their defense, right now, it's pretty neck and neck, but I'll give the edge to the Seahawks. They've played more consistent. But right now, I had the Lions going to the Super Bowl this year for a reason. I think that they're a better coached football team, and it's a, established head coach going against a rookie head coach with Mike McDonald and the Seahawks, with a team that's still trying to find their way. And for right now, give me the Lions to win this game. They've been good. Last year they've been really good. They have some continuity that the Seahawks simply don't have, and I'm willing to believe that right now. So give me the Detroit Lions to win this game over the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football. And that is going to wrap it up, and that will do it for me today. Let me know about your thoughts and comments down below. I can't wait to see some come in. I love to read them. I love to hear what you guys think. But as always, don't forget to do what every YouTuber tells you to do. You know the drill. Like, already, comment, subscribe, most importantly, and share the video. Share it to your friends. Share it to your family. Get everybody locked in here to the Shumake Take. Got content coming out to you guys 3 days a week now. And I love you guys. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. We got a really good week of NFL football coming up here starting on Thursday with the Giants and the Cowboys, and we'll conclude with the Seahawks, the Lions. But you will see me on Saturday talking about the NFL draft and quarterback classes being overrated. And I will see you guys in the next one.